What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. So in this video, I just want to talk about for a quick moment this whole situation that has unraveled recently involving Alec Baldwin's wife, Hillary Baldwin. So apparently some people are accusing Hilaria of faking a Spanish accent, as in an accent of someone who was born and raised in Spain. And I find that to be a little odd. People say she's faking an accent and also faked her, you know, ethnic background as well. And some people have even accused her of even disassociating herself and presenting herself as being non-white. And I think that may partially come from people thinking the word Spanish, not necessarily Spaniard, but Spanish being associated with non-black folk, especially in the United States, but also because Hilaria, she sprayed herself with like self-tanner and darkened her skin. And I think that may have contributed to that as well. But apparently she has been masquerading as a Spaniard for a while. I'm not quite sure what prompted her to do that, but I do think this situation is interesting, and I wanted to make a video about it to sort of just relate it to the situations that kind of happen, within the community, where sometimes some folks, particularly women, may feel the need to sort of exotify themselves, either when it comes to skin tone, as far as like the shade of makeup they use, hair texture, um, you know, and as well even using contouring to change how some features look when it comes to facial features. And as well, there's also a thing where some non-black women, especially white women, participate in black fishing, or as some people may put it, like mixed or biracial fishing, right? And all of this is sort of being done to achieve some proximity to something that is considered quote unquote exotic, um, something that is considered out of the ordinary, something that is considered more uncommon. And also, this stuff is relative. Like exoticism, it's relative. I mean, for example, if you were, say, a native African person in Africa, like Nigeria, well, that wouldn't really be considered, quote unquote exotic, because it's not really seen as anything, you know, out of the ordinary. But if you were to go to, say, Sweden, that would be considered very exotic, right? And I know some people are going to come through and say, well, some people have their own ideas and preconceived notions about what is and what is not exotic, even if they are presented with groups of people, primarily women, who are from different cultures. And some people may feel like when it comes to the black community, exoticism is not just about what's relative, but rather what is, or what has, or who has adjacency to non-blackness, while simultaneously at the same time having some adjacency to blackness, right? And that is definitely a discussion that's worth exploring and having. I just don't have the time to do it in this video at the moment. Yeah. But I find this situation to be interesting that she felt the need to put on this persona. And also, I'm like, when did this start? Did she start this before she met Alec Baldwin? Did she start this when she tried to get with Alec Baldwin? I'm assuming she maybe had this persona on before she got with Alec Baldwin. I feel like this is like a variation of Rachel Dolezal in a way, except for she isn't like portraying herself as something completely different. Um, More like, oh, she added some spice into the mix, right? That, right? But it is an example of like showing that how things kind of go down in other communities, perhaps. And, I don't think this is necessarily the most common thing that happens, but, it's an example of, some non black women, white women in particular, feeling as if, whiteness isn't enough. And that might be true because it's like if she were in the black community, then whiteness would be enough because that would be considered exotic relative, at least relative, right? And some people may say, well, whiteness isn't really exotic because it's so common and promoted in the media, and that's true. But in this particular situation, it would be considered something that is in the black community, quote unquote, outside of the normal. Yeah. But since Hillary Baldwin is in like a white, or at least white majority community, an area or whatever, the whiteness doesn't necessarily give her an edge because everyone has that. And, the women who are there have that. So Hillary has to think of something else to give her an edge. And for her, claiming to be a Spaniard gave her an edge. And as well, maybe she felt like it just made her a more interesting person. Perhaps it did. I'm not familiar with her, so I don't know. But maybe it did. You know, the rapper Trina um, faked being Dominican at one point because she wanted to exotify herself. And, you know, there are, it's not saying that Trina was saying that she wasn't black at all, because some people are going to be like, well, there are black Dominicans. Dominicans a nationality, not a race. And understood, definitely, I know. Um, but still, she did that for a reason. You know, same thing with, say, Rachel Dolezal or Jessica Krug. Um, and, we in the community are more familiar with primarily the women. Notice this seems to be more so with the women than the men. You know, um, that is something interesting to explore as well. And I think when it came to Rachel Dolezal and Jessica Krug, I think they were doing it partially to get some attention, and as well, it did allot them some opportunities that were not available to them prior to their charade and masquerade. And I suppose when it came to maybe Hillary, I don't know if that's her case, And when it comes to the rapper Trina, I don't think that's her case as well. You know, but they did get something from it, right? Uh, Why else would they have continued to do it, right? And didn't very recently, the comedian actress B. Simone, didn't she say that she was going to start telling people that she's from Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico, the PR, right? And it was jokes, but there's some truth in the jokes as well. You know. And also, when it comes to the women who blackfish or mixed fish, biracial fish, whatever we calling it, um, those women, like when they start doing that, they do seem to get more attention and more like notoriety, and maybe even some opportunities even off of it, off of imitating someone else or a different group of women. You know, you know. Um, when it comes to men, I don't really see this happening as much. And people may say, well, when it comes to men, it's not really so much looks based, like not a lot of emphasis is not placed on looks. Not to say that looks are not important at all, but it's less emphasis placed on looks, which could be definitely a factor, right? But I will say that, there are some non black men who do blackfish as black men when it comes to, like, there have been some instances where some non black men have dressed up as black men and presented themselves as black men when they went to go, like, commit a crime. Like, they'll even wear, like, prosthetics, even. So they'll put on some type of like prosthetic um, mask or something like that. Make sure that their hands match too, and present themselves as a black man, a regular, average, typical run of the mill black man when they commit these crimes, so that when they do commit these crimes, they'll be looking for the black man. And we know that black people, especially black men, are already associated with criminality. So that just, well, further helps to push that narrative and also gets the attention from them, since they can just take off the mask and go about their day to day life after they do that, right? Just as like a lot of these women who do like the blackfish fishing, mixed fishing, biracial fishing thing, they can kind of do that, take it off if something goes wrong or they have a bad experience. Like I say, with what people were bringing up with Rachel Dolezal, right? Like, oh, you can just, you have a bad experience, you can take off blackness, and you picking and choosing blackness, and you jumping in and out of blackness, and that's not right. And then there were some people defending it too and saying like, well, so what? It's not really a big deal. People wear different hairstyles. People like to wear makeup to lighten or darken their skin. You know, it's not her fault. She didn't do nothing wrong. Rachel Dolezal, my sister. Y'all leave her alone. She like, she want a black cat like we do. Ain't nothing wrong with that. So what if she took job opportunities from black women and gave tutorials about how to love and embrace your natural hair? So what? She wanna be like us. She wanna be like Black Queen. That's my sister. I consider it an honor. Thank you, Rachel Dolezal. Thank you so much. You show me that black is beautiful. You taught me to be proud of being a black queen. Being proud, strong, and independent like you, Rachel. I'm going to be like you when I grow up. There were some folks, especially some black women like that. You know, folks want to defend it, right? And folks have a right to like and dislike what they want. We all got options. We all got preferences. We all got freedom. Freedom to do what we want to do. We do. All right. But yeah, so this video is a bit all over the place. It's a bit of a rant. But ultimately, I just wanted to come through and present this just to say that, just to show that, an example of perhaps someone kind of like fishing, you know, um, in like a different way, and um, presenting like, white women sometimes feeling the need that like whiteness isn't enough for them. You can even apply this to like Iggy Azalea. Like before she got the um, BBL and picked up her black accent, her black accent, you heard? Who that? Who that? Ah, GGY. Who that? Who that? Ah, GGY. Ah, GGY. With baby daddy drama. Ah, GGY. Who that? Who that? Ah, GGY. You heard? So, you know, again, like if Iggy went down, quote unquote, the white girl route, she wouldn't have even gone as far as she went. And I think low key she did try to do that at one point. But that route is a hard route for her to go down because the competition, like, you can't just go down the route and be white. You got to have something else to offer. You got to, have something more to offer than just being a white girl when you go down that route. But she went down, like, quote unquote, a different route. And that route was easier for her because she had an edge being different, being considered exotic or different, because she is from Australia. She's non-black. She's rapping with a black accent that's completely authentic, by the way. But it kind of just goes to show you that, what is considered normal to somebody and run of the mill is exotic and captivating and, you know, intriguing to others. So it is a bit like, relative. I know that there's other factors in it that may not make it completely relative, but I do think that relativism is involved, or at least a factor in it. But thank you for watching this video. Please let me know what you think about all of this in the comments section. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.